We get breaking news that Rick Tocchet wins the Jack Adams with the Vancouver Canucks. We're going to break down this and more on this episode of Canucks Digest. But before we get into it, I just want to say to the 87% of you guys that aren't subscribed, if you're enjoying this daily Canucks content and you never want to miss an episode where we cover anything from prospects, rumors, signings, Rick Tocchet winning the Jack Adams, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button, as we'll be here all off-season long into next season, giving you the updates from all around the Canucks. But with that, let's hop straight into the first topic today, which is Rick Tocchet wins the Jack Adams Award. Now, obviously, a couple weeks ago, we did see that he was a finalist, that Rick Tocchet was one of the only coaches. There was a couple of coaches, obviously, but he was nominated for the Jack Adams Trophy. And today we've seen Rick Tocchet, which was much deserved, win the Jack Adams. Now, when you do look at Rick Tocchet, he came into this team, he was a new coach, fresh face, and he brought this team to first in the Pacific, third in the West, obviously sadly losing in the second round, but he led this team to 50 wins, 23 losses, which is a huge upgrade from just last season when the Canucks went 38 and 37. They didn't qualify for the playoffs, 6th in the Pacific. You see the year before, 5th in the Pacific. You can see multiple years of this team not qualifying. This, in my opinion, and I'm sure a lot of people would agree with, is the most successful season in quite some time. You can look back as early as 2010 or 2011, 2012, 2013, 14, and just look at these teams compared to how Rick Tocchet has brought this team. Now, when you do look at Rick Tocchet, obviously he had a long journey to get this way. Starting off in Colorado as an assistant coach, Phoenix, Tampa Bay, getting the head coach job and out of the playoffs for 2 years with Tampa, 3 years as the assistant with the Pittsburgh Penguins, where he did win multiple Stanley Cups, couple of years as the head coach for the Arizona Coyotes before coming in and winning the Jack Adams with the Vancouver Canucks. And Griffin, just what's your thoughts on him winning this award for the team?
Like you said, very well deserved, well earned, and he was the odds-on favorite heading into this award season for the NHL season. He's done a great job so far. He's really flipped that culture around, like you see there. Their first playoff appearance in 4 years, it was a big one, and it wasn't like the bubble year where it felt like almost like a insignificant kind of year because the divisions were all messed up around that time. But this was the first real season in a long time that Vancouver Canucks fans were able to see them in the playoffs. Like he said in his press conference after they were eliminated, they brought back respect to the crest. They brought the respect back to the fans. There's something to be excited about in Vancouver again, and fans cannot be happier, as well as the players. You can see that he has had effect not only on the fans and the culture, but also on the players, how they play for him. He holds guys accountable, and what do? They show up the next week. He also is bringing out the best in these guys. He's really like Brock Boeser. He was ready to leave and wanting to leave at a certain point. And there was talks of him being traded, and then Tocchet comes in and he has a career year, as well as JT Miller. He also, like every one of the core fours, did have a career year, and a lot of other players did as well, like Connor Garland, who he had in Arizona. He loved how feisty he was. He kept him around after there was rumors of him even leaving. And what did he do? He had a career year. He brings out the best in these guys, and that is why he won the Jack Adams, and that is why he deserved it the most. And I cannot wait to see what he does more with this Vancouver Canucks team going forward for years to come.
Yeah, because the big thing is, and a lot of people are going to be like, hey, obviously we didn't win the second round. We got knocked out in 7 games. But this is a team that obviously did not qualify for the playoffs for 3 straight seasons. Obviously, they made this playoffs in 2019-20, but then there's another stretch of 4 years of not qualifying. He comes in, brings consistency, and like you said, and like Rick Tocchet said, he brought respect back to this team, to the fans, and to the jersey itself. So Rick Tocchet is much deserving of this. I know fans of other teams might not agree, but Rick Tocchet was the man that was going to win this. Now, when you do look at this, a lot of people might say, hey, this roster got a lot better, or hey, they got new faces, better players, blah, whatever. But when you do look at last year's roster, obviously Elias Pettersson, JT Miller, Quinn Hughes, Kuzmenko, Boeser, Bo Horvat, Connor Garland, a lot of these guys were moved on from. Obviously, you kept the top three guys, and a lot of people would be like, hey, you picked up Zadorov, you got guys like Elias Lindholm brought in, but these guys were brought in halfway through the season while the Canucks were one of already the top teams in the NHL. Starting off the year, they were one of the best teams. Obviously, you have the case of players stepping up for Rick Tocchet as well. You have guys like JT Miller, Quinn Hughes, Pettersson, Boeser, Hronek's a new face that was played a tiny bit last season. Connor Garland had a great year. Höglander had a great year. Joshua, Mikheyev, Myers, all these guys stepped up. And I like how you said it the best. They stepped up for Tocchet. They played their best with Tocchet. And out of this, who surprised you the most on what players really stood out this season?
I think it was great to see Pettersson not like in the first half of the season. I know he kind of dropped off in the second half of the season in the postseason, but he was really on a phenomenal pace throughout most of the season, as well as Brock Boeser. Of course, he was leading the league in goals for a time. He was on fire for a little bit early on in the season. And what happened with Vancouver was the superstars, it wasn't like they disappeared or stopped scoring. They were scoring. It was just that the puck was being spread around. They wanted to be a team of depth and not just a one-line wonder like we've seen with other teams who maybe have gone further into the postseason, but they're going to get exposed at some point. And Tocchet didn't want to have a team that was able to be easily exposed. We saw them get a bit weaker in certain parts of the postseason, but I don't think they ever got exposed in a certain area outside of the power play and the penalty kill. But they are going to be able to shore those things up in the offseason and be a much stronger team for it. But in the meantime, he made sure that guys like Connor Garland were able to have career years where they weren't expected to have career years. He was able to have Dakota Joshua lead the league in hits before he was injured for 3 weeks. He was able to have Thatcher Demko have another Vezina caliber season before an unfortunate injury. He brought out Artur Shilovs, who was an unknown wonder who was ready to be on the main stage. When you look at all the storylines that come out of this Vancouver team this season and what Tocchet was able to do, it's not just one player, it's a bunch of players that all have come together. And even with the way he handled the media, they were even amazed with him as well, with how honest he was with them. And that's the kind of guy that Tocchet is. He's a stand-up guy, and that's why every single person was able to kind of step up and give their best. We did touch on a few players that maybe didn't rise up to the occasion on key moments, but again, he still was able to bring out the best in them throughout the season, or at least make them want to play their best. There was no one phoning it in, as much as people may have come up short in the postseason or near the end of the year. They were still giving their all, and they were still trying. They weren't just out there getting cardio or phoning it in. They were giving their all and busting their butt for this guy.
And the big thing is, too, yes, it was disappointing in the fact that we didn't see a Stanley Cup this year making it to the Stanley Cup finals, whatever way you want to look at it. But teams have to go through the losing streaks. We've talked about it before. Teams like Pittsburgh lost in the first round before going back-to-back to win Stanley Cups. We've seen Ovi fight his entire career to finally get a Stanley Cup. The team like Tampa Bay Lightning got swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round before going on their runs. So many teams go through these down spurts, and I wouldn't even say making the second round, game 7, where a lot of people didn't expect the Canucks to be a down season, and I do think Tocchet is much deserving. When you do look at this, obviously Pat Quinn and Vigneault are the only two Canucks coaches until today to win the award of the Jack Adams, and obviously this was Tocchet's quotes before winning. It's just an honor to be nominated. It's the ownership, the consistent coaches, players. It's just a piece of the puzzle, and seeing Tocchet come out and say this, it is a lot of respect from a guy not just saying, hey, yes, this is because of me. He knows that every part of this, Adam Foote being an assistant coach, both Sedins being a part of this organization, helping players, Patrik Allvin going to pick up other players, Trader Jim helping with the trades. All of this leads up to Tocchet finally capturing the award. And Griffin, do you think this is the last time he'll ever win it as a Canucks coach?
I don't think so. I think that if, like we've said before, if they can figure out ways to make their salary cap work over the years to come and this next season, I think the Stanley Cup window is just opening for Vancouver, and I think it'll be open for years to come if that's the case. Especially with this guy at the helm, he reminds you of great coaches like Alain Vigneault and Pat Quinn, where he is going to be one of these legendary Canucks coaches that is going to be remembered not only because of his coaching ability, but also because of his reputation. He has gained the respect of everybody, players, fans, media, and every outlet that you look at, even former players, when they're talking about him, they're giving him nothing but respect. He is one of these coaches that is going to be remembered for a long time. He's definitely paid his dues. He's worked his way up through the depths and all over the league. He's been around. He's seen a thing or two and knows a thing or two. So it's going to be amazing that to see what he does with his Vancouver Canucks team. And I'm so happy that we have a guy like him. I think it's the beginning of a very long tenure with Vancouver.
And the big thing is, we're only a month away from the Norris Trophy being named, which I'm saying right now will be Quinn Hughes. So the Canucks are going to win 2 awards this season. Obviously, they won the Pacific Division as well. But the biggest thing with this is I'm going to go out on a hot take. They will get a 3rd award next season with Jonathan Lekkerimaki winning Rookie of the Year. But what's your guys' thoughts on Tocchet winning Coach of the Year? Do you think he'll get another Jack Adams award at some point with the Vancouver Canucks? But with that, let's hop straight into the third topic, and you've probably seen it because I clicked the button by mistake. Comment of the day. And the comment of the day comes from Nobody, and he said, I was really glad to see the fans show their appreciation for the whole year of great hockey. They were feeling the same as I was. I was standing and clapping in my rec room. And I agree. This whole season, yes, it didn't come with the outcome that we wanted, but it is a great building block, and it's going to be another great season next year with a wild off season to add to it. But if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure to go down and leave a comment. You could be featured on the next episode of Canucks Digest as comment of the day. You can leave a comment on where you're watching from, your favorite Canucks player. If you think Tocchet is going to win another award, just leave any type of comment. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. I've been your host, Mark, with my co-host, Griffin. Take care.